Have you ever been walking around and found an old rusted can with two triangle holes punched into it? One hole possibly slightly bigger than the other? What are these holes? What made them? How old is this can, and why is one hole slightly bigger than the other? Well, if you stop asking questions, I will answer them. Well, this is the church key, otherwise known as a can punch. Every house 50 to 80 years ago had probably at least one of these things inside of it. These are still very abundant in antique stores today for a very low price, as they were very, very common. The first church key was invented in 1892 and looked a little like this, although a bit bigger. This is a Pepsi-Cola one from around 1950. Now, don't be alarmed between the big difference of church keys, as they are both church keys, and I'll get into their similarities pretty soon. The reason why the church key on the left is called a church key, and this is how the name came, is because it resembled a church key, or I guess any skeleton key. This one actually goes into some of the older doors in my house, but keys are for another video. Anyways, you can see the similarities between the two. This model right here can be called a church key because, as you can see, this looks like the steeple on a church up here with a little window. There's the door, and these are the walls. Kind of neat, huh? The older design of church key was only really used to open up bottles, as you can tell, because these are still in wide use today. But you just go like that, and it opens up the bottle. This newer style of church key came around in maybe the 30s, maybe early 40s. And this style both features the bottle opener, as I said there was a similarity between the two types, and this new little triangle shape right here. That triangle shape is meant for opening cans. At the tip of the church key, there's a little notch that's like that. I like to call it kind of like the egg tooth of the church key because it's meant for stabbing. So I've already demonstrated to you how you would open up a can like this. These church keys were mainly used with beer and soda cans, hence why Jiffy beer is advertised on this rather rare church key that I found at an antique store. They would also be used with condensed milk, a lot of condensed milk cans. If you had a can of soup that didn't have its own built-in opener on it, which means that it would probably not be a chunky soup. Chances are it was meant to be used with one of these, or else one of the openers where you go like that around the can and it comes with its own individual opener. That can be a topic for another day. So, let's talk about why there are two holes and what the different hole sizes are using a church key punch. So, the reason that there are two holes is for ventilation. It's not two drinking holes. I guess if you make them the same size, it could be. But over here, this is what you'll more commonly see. One full hole, one maybe half hole. Because that's really all you need. And so with the ventilation hole, it won't go glug 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 glug. Instead, it would be one long smooth flow of the whatever's in there because it'll have this separate ventilation hole. Now that we have all the facts out of the way, let's talk about the decline of the church key punch. To answer that question, we would have to go back to the year 1959. In 1959, engineer Ermel Faze invented the easy open can. That is a rare sight right there, to have a can still have one of those on it. So, these are the things that you see on the beaches that kind of look like that punched out hole right there with the big loop on it. Slightly after the Easy Open can was invented in 1959, the decline of church key punch cans sank. These were a huge success and were around for many years, and these are still around in a lot of countries. Here's an example of a Pepsi-Cola can from 1979 featuring the Easy Open pop tab, pull tab kind of thing. One thing you may be wondering about the church key punch is, well, what about this use for it right here? The bottle opener. Well, there were advancements in that too, including like just the normal standard loop bottle opener. You could still use, I guess, one of these church keys, these older style ones. And there are ones like this. This was one of my first woodworking projects. I bought this 1932 drink Coca-Cola bottle opener off of eBay for a couple bucks, and I made a little mount for it. Now in this video I'm not really going to get into any of the specifics about these pull tabs on here, because that is a topic for another video that we will be looking at. A modern use for the church key, would be 1, the bottle opener. Still perfectly functional on modern bottles. I know I've used it on them. 2, on soup cans, like how one of the ways that it was originally intended, not the main way. And 3, its main way, which would be to open soda cans like this. The way that I do it is to have one punch on each side of the wide tip, or the wide hole lip there. And the final way that you can use a church key punch would be in retaliation of using one of those crank can openers. But I would not suggest it for baked beans. Anyways, that's a little snippet on a really cool device that is still cheap and abundant to get a hold of. A lot of history behind it, and still pretty usable. Thank you for watching.